Yes.
All right, so I guess we're ready to get started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ravi Raghunathan, and I'm actually filling in today for Dr. Boker, who normally runs this class. He's away on business this week, so I'm actually filling in for him. And it is my pleasure to introduce Sheng Yang, one of our very own alumnus of the department, 2001. And he's the co-founder and CTO of Logical, which is an e-discovery automation platform for the legal world. And in this talk, he'll take you through his journey, which includes overcoming some great difficulties at during one of the famous economic downturns of 2001, during which time he was at VT, and from going from there to building a company over 2 decades until its successful exit. He'll share some lessons that he learned, such as navigating uncertainty, adapting to challenges, and the mindset shifts that helped him grow as an entrepreneur. And whether you're thinking about starting a business or facing setbacks, as a lot of you would know as undergrads or graduate students, or just curious about what it takes to build something from the ground up, in this talk, he'll give you an unfiltered look at the highs and lows of the entrepreneurial path, which of course is a major focus of our department at all levels. And it's a rare opportunity to get some insights from an expert who's been through tough times and who's overcome challenges to become the co-founder and CTO of a company. So let's welcome Sheng again. And Sheng, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Just, okay, so you'll keep the camera for anywhere from
Yeah,
here.
I'm just gonna start.
So,
Okay.
have the mic, right?
I got it quick. I got it ready. All right. Yeah, so I really want to just start by saying really thank you uh, to Virginia Tech for giving me this opportunity to talk. Um, I remember when I was at Tech, which was, I think it was like 1998 to 2001. I mean, I can't wait to get out. Um, but and I got out, and to be honest, the past 20 years kind of been a blur. There were just so many things that happened. But now I have some chance to reflect and looking back. I mean, really, I think my education here really sort of shape uh, the person that I am right now. So I really want to thank this school for really giving me opportunity to be who I am and have this chance to talk to you guys. So today, my talk really is just my story, what I did in the past 20 years, and in a very high level view, and what happened. And my hope is that perhaps there's some learning in there somewhere that might be helpful to you guys, something that perhaps you can use for your own personal framework, your own personal set of principles that perhaps might help you to navigate your own life. So that's it. Really just sharing my story. Um, Definitely there's going to be some stuff about the company, so it should be fun. Anyway, let's start. And I can't figure out which button I should click. Any button? Sorry. The right. Oh, there you go. Sorry, I got it. So a little bit about me. I was originally born in Taiwan. Uh, we immigrated to America when I was around 12. It was like 1989. I have a big family base in the Southern California area. So that's where I went. Um, and I started my journey here in America in LA, and then a year after my dad he found a job in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So that's how I end up there. And really, after that, throughout many years, I spent quite a bit of time in Tennessee and Virginia, obviously, North Carolina, Florida. And every time I come back to the East Coast, I really just felt like home. So the South has been really good to me. And obviously I went to Virginia Tech, and it has been a huge sort of influence on me. And I will talk a little about that as well. That's kind of the story, where the story starts, really. And then graduating in 2001, I was fortunate enough to start working right away, and started a company with my friend, my business partner, in 2003. Andy Wilson. He's actually going to be here, and he's actually going to be in Blacksburg tomorrow to speak as well. We went through a bunch of stuff, and in 2015 we pivoted the company, and that next generation, that version of the company, sort of became the ultimately the company that we sold in 2023. Yeah, we sold it to a much bigger competitor in our space. That the company that bought us, they're heavily backed by a major private equity firm. And yeah, we were primarily focusing on sort of like this small and medium sized project, and they focus on the big stuff. So as you can probably imagine, there's some synergy there. Anyway, so I'm going to start by asking the audience here, how many of you thought Virginia Tech, going to school here, is easy? Raise your hand. How many of you thought it's not easy and it's hard? Okay. Well, I certainly belong to the latter camp. I think sort of, coming from high school, living with my parents, to sort of completely unsupervised, I really wasn't, being a freshman, I really wasn't prepared. And I think my freshman year was definitely pretty difficult. I definitely didn't do so great. But throughout my years in Virginia Tech, I really had some great teachers and great mentors, and some really great counselors that kind of guide me through. And I remember a lot of my high school friends, they went through their first year of college, and they're like, you know what, this is not for me, I'm done. But I think I was fortunate enough to really stuck around and got through it. And I think that was definitely a big part of my life. And one thing that I noticed, I remember after I graduated, and just thinking about sort of how I think about things when I was in high school, and then how I think about things after I graduated, there was a huge difference. And I do think like sort of that academic rigor and just really forces you to think about things and try to understand and just kind of, be on your own. I really think that sort of prepare the foundation of my mind to kind of go out into the real world, I guess. In sort of my senior year, I was like, man, I really need to find some easy A's. I really need like something to boost my GPA at the time. So and when I was in school, there was a class offering. I'm not sure if it's still around, but it was called Virtual Corporation, where it's like a pretend corporation where they give you like very vague instruction on sort of like the business objective that you want to accomplish, but you kind of have to figure out on your own. And I think that through that class and some of the sort of like the really difficult sort of projects that I did in my senior year, that really sort of reinforced and helped me learn sort of like what my learning style is, and which is very hands-on. I think, for me, it's always really difficult to listen to somebody talk, try to understand what they're saying, and then be able to sort of make something out of it on my own. But I remember sort of doing some of these, like one of the projects I remember was I need to work on some kind of Bluetooth communication. And all I got was a CD with an SDK in C++ and just a bunch of documentations. And it took me a while, but I figured it out. And I was like, wow, I can't believe I actually did it. And that also reinforced sort of my love for computer science. I was in computer engineering. That was my major. But I realized writing a bunch of equations on a yellow piece of paper, that's just not for me. So yeah, so I love computer science, and I can do this. So that's kind of what I got out of the school. So when I was in Virginia Tech, it's kind of like right here. You hear about companies like Yahoo and Intel, how they have these like lavish parties. It sounds amazing. I'm like, I can't wait to get out. Well, once I did, if you can see this chart, I was right here. I was like, okay, this is not going to go well. Yeah, so I mean, I did try sort of going through the regular career path, interviews and all that, nothing. And to be honest, none of my friends have any opportunities at the time. So I was like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna keep looking and see what I can find. And just so happened, a local multimedia web design company, they're hiring. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go there. And I showed up, bunch of other kids showed up, and I'm like, wow, they will just hire anybody. This is great. As it turns out, it's not paid. It's a small company. They're really just kind of trying to make a name for themselves. So a lot of kids, as soon as they realize that, they're just like, all right, you know what, this is not for me, I'm out. But for me, I'm like, well, I'm here. I got nothing else to do. I really want to do something. So I stuck around, and I got pretty good at it. Just kind of working on various projects that I have. And I really developed a really good relationship with my boss at the time. He needed somebody to basically work on these projects for him. And I need somebody to introduce all these different projects to me. So it becomes a really, really great relationship. And also, through working there, I kind of realized, you know what? I really excel in a very chaotic environment where there's just no structure. Nobody tells you nobody has any clue what's going on. Like that's the type of environment I wanted to be in. I want to be the guy who just like kind of figure it out and do it on my own. So graduated, I really just started working right away. And just start taking on a bunch of different projects, really a lot of them just from local companies, which was really cool. And so eventually that summer, I landed sort of my biggest project, which was the customer is a litigation support company in Northern Virginia here. And this was like 2001 still. They really need a way for their customer to upload data to their server, so they can like print them out and then give it back to their customer. So this was like, you guys probably this is like really ancient stuff, but you know, Java applet. So now it's like HTML5, blah, 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 right? Like everything just a browser. But back in the days, there's no Java. Oh, there's JavaScript, but it's very weak. So you got to like write these Java code, and then it gets embedded into the browser, and then it kind of does whatever you need to do. Well, that was that was the biggest project I ever got, and I just loved it. And I just worked really hard on it, and really knock it out of the park. And eventually, through that project, the customer decided to hire me. So I was like, yeah, you know, I actually get a real job opportunity here. So that's when I moved to Northern Virginia after I graduated. And again, it's a litigation support company. It's not a technology or software company. So but that's the direction they want to go. So they don't really know what to do with me. So I was like, all right, whatever. Just start writing a bunch of script, try to automate whatever they have. Yeah, just kind of take initiative and just start working on a bunch of stuff on my own. And that's actually where I also met my future business partner. He was a sales guy that working there. And we start working really close together. Eventually, we almost become like a company within that company, where he will go to DC, to all these major law firms to sell our services. He will, you know, on Friday, he will bring back a DVD just full of electronic data. And then me and him would just stay up all night, like all Saturday, just printing out into paper. And then by Sunday morning, we'll have 30 boxes. And then he would load it into the truck, drive it back into DC. And then on Monday, he will actually build them. He will actually come up with the invoice and everything and build them. And that's kind of how we really start working really closely together. And so I think, you know, we talk about e-discovery, like what is it, right? So just imagine, you know, if you're a lawyer, I'm talking about at the time, and you're working in litigation, you probably have to go through a lot of documents to figure out sort of like what documents are relevant to your case that you might want to share with opposing or with other law firms, or you know, share with your client. So that's kind of the discovery at the time. And back in the day, that's all done just through paper, nothing electronic. But toward the later part of my tenure working at that company, instead of printing them out, we start converting them into images. And then, you know, they would take these images of documents, load it into a document review platform, and that's how they do their review. That's how they do their coding. So that's kind of the beginning of this whole electronic data discovery market. And we, at the time, we landed one of the biggest telecommunication merger deal that was happening. We actually landed the e-discovery part of that job, which it's massive. And when I talk about massive amount of data, I'm talking about 50 gigs. That's huge. I think I spent a whole week not sleeping, just hacking away. But that's when through this big project, that's when I realized that, you know what, I really enjoy working on distributed data processing. So that kind of became my passion. I started thinking, you know, because I got some experience on sort of working through this job, and I started thinking about how like we can process data better and more efficiently and at a much bigger scale. So that's the passion part. And you know, people, I met my co-founder, we start working really closely together. And then now we have this sort of this emerging market, this e-discovery market. So really, I think those are the kind of three things that sort of seeded the next step of my career, which is Logic System Inc. So my business partner, Andy, you know, we start working really close together, and then one day he was staying up all night working. So the next day he didn't come to the office. I was still there. So I came to the office. Then I got a call from him, and he was like, "How would you like to hear a business opportunity?" So I was like, "Okay, I don't know what you mean, but sure." So we later that week we met at a Chinese restaurant that's right next to where we work. And that's where it's sort of like this whole idea of, hey, why don't we get together and do our own thing? That's where we start discussing. And I pretty much agreed to it like right away because I'm young, I have nothing, I'm by myself. What do I have to lose? It was just a really easy sort of decision because I was thinking, well, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to feed myself. So really beyond that, why not? You know? So it really felt like, even though it's super risky, but when you're young and foolish, it's no big deal. So and I was really excited about sort of building this software that I want to make. So I started at night in my own time. I started coding. I live in this basement. My bed's right here. My desk is right there. So I started working at night, sort of building the software to process data. But it's just not enough time to really make anything out of it that's actually going to be useful, because you know, work's just taking too much time. So it was kind of like, so it was Independence Day, that weekend where the Independence Day was happening. I was hanging out with them, we're talking about it. I was like, man, this is not moving in this sort of the direction, in the speed that I want to, you know, I want this to happen. So that's when we decided, you know what, we're just gonna quit. So that Monday we just walked in and just be like, all right, we're done. And so I started doing my basement startup full time in my own basement. I would wake up around 9 in the morning, and I would just kind of like slowly move to my desk and just start working. And I would just work until like 12 in the morning. And we did that for about 8 months. And that's when we felt like, okay, you know what? I think we're ready. We can really start test this baby out. So we're going to sell this. We're going to sell services. So we start hitting all the major law firms in DC. At the time, I don't own a suit, but you gotta look spiffy, right? So Andy let me borrow his suit. So I'm basically wearing this over, and he's a much bigger guy than I am. So I'm like super skinny at the time. So I'm basically wearing this oversized suit, and we just go and just hit the street of DC. Met a bunch of law firms. All no. But you know what? That's okay. Oh, okay. Because eventually we did find a major customer that decided to take a chance on us. It was a huge litigation support company in New York. At the time, they're getting tons of e-discovery service requests, and they don't have the capacity to do it. The technology just wasn't there, so they're having problem taking on these meeting the customers' demands. And we got this brand new thing that we just put together. So talk for a little bit. They decided to give us a shot. So on Friday, they gave us a DVD. I think it was like 25 gigs. And we just stay up all weekend, just working on it. And we did it, and then on Monday we submitted, and they were really happy. So that's kind of how the whole ball started rolling. They just start, giving us projects, and we start, the sort of the law firm side, it's also start clicking too. So we're like, okay, we got some money now. Let's get an office. So our very first office was actually in DuPont Circle. It was the Circle, sorry, it's like north of the Circle. It's not there anymore, but there used to be a steakhouse called Ruth Chris. It's a very famous steakhouse. Yeah, our office was right on the top of that. It's like the penthouse. And we basically remodeled ourselves, because we didn't know that the landlord's supposed to do the remodeling for us. So we wipe out all the dirty carpets, we replace it with the wooden floors, we painted ourselves. Yeah, and I still remember the first night when we were done with everything. It was just me and Andy, 2 desks. We're just looking at each other sitting there in this empty office. We're like, all right, that's cool. And then soon after that, we'll start hiring. And I read a long time ago, I don't remember where, that they said that from multiple different people, that kind of like the first 10 employee that you hire kind of defines the culture of your company. Yeah, I do find that to be pretty true. We were very, very lucky to really find some really, really amazing people that actually stayed with us till the very end. And that really defined the sort of the company culture. And soon after that, we're just getting jobs left and right, and yeah, just living a dream, really young, and just kind of everything, just kind of just hacking through everything. Then the market crash again. This one, it's actually, we felt this one a lot more than the first one. This was like the 2007, 2008, the subprime. I remember at the time, our bank that we used was Wachovia. They don't exist anymore. And just so happened, they're the one who is crashing big. So we were like, oh man, our money's at risk. So I ran to the bank. I'm like, we're taking all our money out. And while I'm trying to do that, I got a call from my banker, and it's like, don't do this. I'm like, it's beyond my control. We got to do it. And then he got so mad, he just hung up on me. So we took all our money out. We're like, where do we put it? And at the time, Wells Fargo was the safe place. They're the one who was doing the best, right? But they don't have any presence on the East Coast. Now you see them everywhere. That's because they bought Wachovia. So we're like, all right. So we had to call San Francisco and be like, all right, open a bank account. We're gonna wire you all this money. Blah blah blah. It was very hectic. And we did create a bank account, transfer all money to Wells Fargo. Then the feds decided to force Wells Fargo to buy Wachovia. So we end up back where we started. That was kind of pointless. But it was, the economy wasn't doing well. We were doing okay, but we just got really tired working for, the whole like litigation and e-discovery. We're talking about like massive, like huge stake. And it's just a very stressful sort of type of job, even though it paid really well. So we just got really tired. And at that time, this whole idea, I mean, it's been around for a little bit more than that, but like the whole like cloud computing and software as a service, like these concepts is really started solidifying. So we're like, those are pretty cool things. And we always want to be a product company. That's kind of our dream, So we're like, okay, what if we take all of our experiences doing these services? What if we just channel it into a product, and we'll let our customer do it themselves? So it was around that time, sort of like the whole idea of Logical, our future product, start really taking shape. It still took like another 5 years to really that becoming a reality, but that's sort of like the beginning. So yeah, so we were like, okay, you know what? I know we can make a lot of money doing this, but this is not what we want to do. So why don't we just put that on pause, the service, follow our dreams. So we decided to do it. Logical. So it's really cool because we have to start learning how to build like automation within software, because like the previous software, it's very sort of manual. You kind of have to manually gather all the data, prep it, and set it the right way to ingest into the software, get it processed. It's just like a lot of steps. But now we have to build a sort of like a data processing platform where our customer can upload data anytime they want to. And the system has to be smart enough to know, like, okay, the data is here. I'm going to move it into our processing pipeline, process it, then get it ready so that our customer can review them, all done automatically without us intervening. So that was really interesting. And we were at that time, service still the sort of the bread and butter. Nobody's really doing what we're trying to do. So the market for this type of product, it's really not there. So we were just kind of alone in the ocean by ourselves, and the market wasn't really there for us yet, which was actually kind of fun because before, when you're providing a service, you're very limited in terms of how you can service your customer. But if you have a product that you just need a browser, now anybody can use this, not just the big law firms. So we start discovering all these different use cases. I mean, the government, really, if you think about it, what we do, I think anything that you want to do where you want to find something within your like you kind of finding the needle in the haystack, which can be applied to many different use cases. So we start discovering all these new different use cases, and we're just start rapidly experimenting with everything. So I remember there was a time where we're literally changing prices like every week. Every week we'll have a new pricing, which is driving our customer really crazy. And because of the heavy investment, and we're not really focusing on our sort of bread and butter business, we're start running out of money, which is not very fun. But as we kind of keep going, eventually we were able to take logical and make 1 million AR on our own. So with that, we're able to raise our first round, raise our funding in VC in San Francisco, which is super exciting. We decided to move our headquarters from Washington, DC to San Francisco. I uprooted my whole family. We just all moved there, which was really tough. But it was really exciting because now, instead of being a service company, we're just basically starting over. This is a brand new company. We have to relearn everything. You know, how do you deal with a customer? How do you sell? How do you maintain a product? So in the new area, Soma, that's where we started, which is like, at the time, this is like 2015, 2016, which is like really, really exciting time to be in San Francisco, because like the whole like SaaS, you know, it's like really start taking shape. You just see a lot of really cool companies. So it was really, really exciting to be in that environment and just like being with all these different startups. Yeah, and that's also sort of when Andy and I started getting back together. For I think a year or two previously, Andy already moved to California. You know, he's getting the fundraising, he's doing all, you know, kind of building that network there. I was still kind of holding down the fort in DC. So we were able to get together and work together face to face again, which was pretty amazing. But you know, of course, not everybody can just uproot themselves. So, you know, we have a lot of engineers. They're still working on the East Coast. So we become a distributed team, we become a remote team, because a lot of them they stay where they are. But I think there are definitely some advantages to having a sort of like a remote team when you're a small startup, because a lot of really, really talented engineers, they don't want to go into the office. They're really good. They can do their work. You can trust them. So we were able to actually hire a lot of really good people because they can work from home. So it was kind of an advantage to us, and because we had that foundation working together before, you know, it's not as big of an issue for us. We got our C round. We didn't really know what we were doing, not very careful with our spending. So we're running a lot of money again. And that was really tough because, you know, I just uprooted my whole family to California. We were living in this 2-bedroom apartment. We don't know anybody. You know, my wife, she's like, doesn't even know where to go. And then now, you know, we're gonna basically have to forego salary for a long while. So it was really tough. But at the time, so once you're low on money, so what do you do? Well, I remember Andy would put together a spreadsheet with all of our customers, and he would just call them one by one, just upselling them, and try to collect cash. And that really helped. Just try to get more cash in, get more revenue. And that's kind of when I realized that, you know, in San Francisco, because like San Francisco is a really small city, there are a lot of startups. Everybody, the communication is very rapid. So it's like there's just a lot of influencing on everybody in a very rapid fashion. So, you know, there will be a period where all the VC will be like, spend. We're like, okay. Then like things are bad. Then it's like, okay, don't spend. You know, so I think, and I'm gonna talk about this a little bit later, but I think later our success, part of our success, they actually kind of go against sort of that trend that everybody was taking. But we did well. I mean, we're low on cash, but the business was growing quite well. So we were able to raise our next round, which is exciting. And after that, yeah, it's just busy because before we're kind of, you know, in this boat in the ocean by ourselves. well, not anymore. The market has started maturing. They're just competitors. They're very well funded. They're just coming to the market left and right. The customer, they're recognizing that, hey, you know what, this type of software is just, it's the way to go to sort of manage their e-discovery. So the demands are there, the competitors there, and it was just like, before we were getting these deals and it was just us, but now it's like every deal we're seeing competitors everywhere. And the office got so crowded, people are just working, you know, in the lobby, like in the dining room area, and that was actually very exciting when everybody's cramming together, and things are going really well. Everybody's really busy. I know that sometimes it's very easy for a business owner to think like, oh, you know, I'm doing really well right now, I need to expand, we need to take on more, right? And then they spend a lot of they spend a lot of investment up front, you know, getting bigger office, you know, maybe like up their marketing strategies, whatever. But just know, like, that doesn't always work very well. In fact, most of the time it does not work. So you got to be very careful when it comes to expansion. I mean, we're doing well, but we're also just burning a lot of cash. So the rocket ship led us to our next round of funding. And at that time, you know, everybody just raising money left and right. I mean, we raise basically every other year. So this was our last round. This was, we never raced to the unicorn level. We raced to this. And I remember the very first board meeting we had with our new investor. We had this plan. We're like, we're gonna spend all this money. We're gonna hire all these people. We're gonna provide all these different services. You know, almost like going back to our service days. And then, you know, went to the board meeting with our new investor. We like talk it up, this plan. And he's just like, this is the complete opposite of why we invest in you guys. The reason why we invest in you guys is because you guys are a really good product. And it's really the product that truly scales. Whatever you guys doing, that's not really scaling. So we took that to heart. And that leads to what we decided to do next. So we scrap that original plan, and instead we decided to scale the product. So this is kind of what we did. The first thing we did was product-led growth. So what it is instead of hiring a bunch of salespeople to sell your product, we try to leverage the network effect of the app itself to sort of expand our growth. So, you know, I mentioned in the discovery world, a big part of it is sharing. You know, like the whole point of you going through these documents and figure out what you need to do with it is to share with other people. So we create a way for our customer to share their data with their customer that they might not have any e-discovery software with. You know, they might not have any software. We provide a way for them to be able to kind of do these things on their own. So you know, so even if you don't have the software, it's okay. We provide a way that you can still use Logical, and if you really like it, we provide a way for you to self-sign up. You know, like instead of calling us, you can actually sign up on your own, and you don't have to sort of pay us. You know, you can just pay by the usage. You know, it's kind of like pay as you go, to kind of try to sort of grow that that potential customer. And we provided tons of just really easy features that kind of make our customer life a lot easier. I mean, our customers, they used to upload terabytes of data just through like Chrome browser, no plugin, nothing, just pipe it directly to us. And we start processing terabyte data every day. We created some really useful features. So for example, being able to search audio and video files, that's a huge thing. Provide ways to easily redact documents instead of doing it manually, make it really easy for our customer to redact massive amount of documents. Also just to download their production set, to download their data, we make it super easy. And I kind of mentioned this a little bit, sort of price the way our customer wants to pay. So if you're not willing to commit to us, that's okay. Just pay sort of based on your usage. And once you really start to like it, then you can commit to a sort of like a year subscription, and we'll give you just tons and tons of space, users, whatever, so that they don't have to work. They can just use the product, pay us a set fee, use the product, and not have to worry about, I'm running out of license, whatever, seats. We also start developing multiple products. Instead of having just one product, we also have Legal Hold, we have other things, to kind of sort of like try to take advantage of that sort of synergy. If you like this product, hey, maybe you will like this one as well, and just kind of try to grow that way. And finally, just really focusing on customers. I would say that Andy, as the CEO, he probably spent majority of time just on the phone, just talking to customers. All the conversation will be recorded, and we will review them. And if they have any concerns or whatever, like those would kind of get relayed down to everybody else, and we will be like, okay, what's the pain point here? What do I have to do? Just constantly sort of like refining, and make our customer happy. I spend huge amount of my time really just kind of addressing customer pain. Whenever our customers having technical issues, really frustrated with something, I will come in working directly with engineers and just really trying to address that frustrations. So it was just laser focused on the customers, really. So in the sort of like, this is like the early 2020, COVID, things are kind of going down. But once COVID started running out of steam, you probably, this, like the market just started really going up. Two of our major competitors, I think one of them went public, the other one got major funding around that time. Bunch of company went public at that time. And we decided, you know what, that's not the path we're going to take. We're done. We're done with this sort of taking money and then going that way. Instead, we're just gonna sort of like put our head down, focus on what we're doing. With the engineering of business. So while you look at this chart as positive, pretty positive, if you look at us at the time, it's probably like going down. We decided to go back to our roots, which is bootstrapping. We start just every 6 months, we would do these like expense reviews and just make sure like whatever we can cut, we're just gonna cut it. Really put our energy on our customers and providing a really good product experience. And in the end, I cut off here, but after 2022, the sort of the free money ride is over. That's when, you know, the Fed start increasing interest rate. So the market really start going down, and we just start going up. We start growing really well year over year. You know, we're cash flow positive, and we just started acquiring some really amazing customers that really love us. We just felt like there was this wind in our back, and that's when you know, really that's when sort of like the whole acquisition came in. You know, we really start doing well. People can see it. That's where the interest come in. So yeah, so instead of talking about that, my friend and business partner Andy, he actually did a 1 hour YouTube video, discuss it with Jason Limkin from this company called SaaStr. SaaStr, they're a sort of like a startup educational platform. All the people they bring on, all the interviews and the people they bring on to SaaStr, they're all like top Silicon Valley entrepreneurs. So if you're really interested in sort of how the company works, I would strongly encourage you guys to go to SaaStr to learn about it. But if you're interested in sort of, I mean, Andy and Jason, they did a really amazing talk, kind of going over sort of what happened at that stage. So if you're interested in acquisition, I would just go to YouTube and just search for SaaStr Andy Wilson. It's a really good video. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. So a little bit learning. Other people's money, leveraging, it's very expensive. I mean, we raise money, so I'm not saying like, oh, just bootstrap. But I do think like you have to be very thoughtful when you're trying to raise money, because you're gonna lose a lot of your equity, you're gonna lose a lot of control. So just be very strategic about it. And if you decide to raise money, you better knock it out of park, or else you could walk away with nothing. The other thing is just kind of my thought. You know, when you're young, it's the best time to make big bets, pursue whatever you want to do. You have a healthy body, you have the energy, you don't have a lot of risk. This is actually something that I remember reading, something that Mark Cuban also talked about this, and literally like he said the exact same thing that I was thinking at the time, which was, I got nothing to lose, so why don't, you know, just do something a little more crazy. The other thing is, you know, building a company, I think it's all about really quick iterations, taking a bunch of little steps, and really kind of see like, okay, these action I'm taking, what is the result of this action? Is it good? Is it not good? If it's positive, double down, keep going. If it's not giving you the right result, step back, try something else. But you got to keep trying. And you know, of course, like, you know, what I mean, I'm not saying this does not apply to life, but in the business world, in the company world, money is life. If you don't have money, you don't have a company. So really be very careful about how you spend it, and be really strategic about it. It's really important. And so the other thing to think about is, you know, sometimes it's very tempting to just kind of do what everybody else is doing. You know, try to sort of get that short-term gain, try to make that money right now. But you might feel like, you know what, this direction is not where I want my company to go. So, you know, sometimes you might want to sacrifice your short-term gain for the long-term benefit by believing something and actually execute on that. And finally, you know, in the business world, timing is everything. And you don't control timing at all. So, you know, things could be really, really difficult for 2 years. But, you know, but then like sort of that cloud will go away and the sun will start, you know, shining back down again. So how do you manage that? Well, stay in the game, rough it out. And, you know, once things start getting better, just double down on it. Just take that opportunity and don't hesitate. You just have to take it if the opportunity is sort of given to you. So that's kind of the sort of like the TLDR on the company side. A little bit, this is more like my personal framework. So I kind of see my life as just a sequence of missions. And I think missions is a little bit different from your personal goal, because usually my mission also involves a lot of other people. It's not just me. I'm part of the team. And and I always sort of put my missions above myself, my feeling, you know, what I want. So what that means is, you know, sometimes I might really get frustrated. I might be really angry. I really want to quit. But because the mission is bigger than me, I stick around, push myself through it. And sort of the end result of that is I look back, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I did that. That was amazing. I made it. And that really sort of built a lot of my own self-confidence. So it's really, really, really important. Then sometimes when things are getting tough, you can't really see very far because it's just, you know, it's just cloudy, it's dark. So if things are getting tough, sometimes perhaps you just want to focus on what you're doing right now, focus on the process. And that's not worry too much about the result, the future, but just be really laser focused on what you're doing right now and perhaps the next 2 steps. And once you kind of take that 3 more steps, you see kind of where the next 3 steps are going to be. That's a way for me, I guess, to kind of help me crawl out of difficult situations. And if things are tough, I look for small wins everywhere. I might have a really tough day at work, and I'll go to the train station, and the train came right when I was at the platform. I'm like, all right, that's a win. I made it. Just a lot of little things like that. It does make a difference. Just focus on little things, like be really focused. And you know, I'm a really laid back guy. I really don't like attentions, but I think it's also really important that you need to step up when it's your turn. You know, sometimes it's fine when other people take the lead, when, you know, you always want to look for like whoever is the most qualified. But when you're the most qualified person, don't be afraid. Step up, do what you got to do, which is really important. And be present. So for me, I think I'm always having the most difficult feelings when I'm either thinking to the future or think in the past or stuck in the past. So the best place, I think, for all of us is to be now instead of being stuck in the future or stuck in the past. And finally, take care of yourself. You know, I mean, take care of your body, your mental. Yeah, it's I'm 47, so I'm feeling it. Anyway, that's it. So, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sheng, for a wonderful, wonderful talk. So yeah, we have time for some questions now.
Yeah.
Hafiz?
Yeah. So, Andy and I, I mean, we've been together for over 20 years. And we're really close now, but that hasn't always be the way, especially in the beginning, because um, for one thing, when we're young, there are a lot of I have a lot of potential. He has a lot of potential, but we don't know. I don't know what he's capable. I don't know. I'm capable. So there's definitely a lot of sort of friction that came out of trying to figure out sort of what his roles are, what my roles are. Um, and later, once we start moving to San Francisco and start really be together, I think that's where we really gotten really close. Part of the reason is just because it's such a hard, difficult thing that we're doing. The external pressure are so high that it really forces you to work closely together, because if you don't, you're just not going to achieve success. Um, yeah. So and also with company, there are just a lot of things that you can't really talk to your coworker about. It's really there's a lot of things that really only your co-founder that you can really discuss. Uh, so so I think that also really kind of bring us together, because and that's why a lot of like Y Combinator always say like you need to find co-founder. It's because there are just things like you can really it's kind of your wife, like you can only share with your wife. So so yeah. Yes.
We have a question online. If you can please unmute Srihan and ask your question.
Have you met a lot of other Hokie alumni while working in your field?
Have I met a lot of
Hokie alumni.
no. Actually. Well, I mean, for one, my network's really small, like I'm more sort of just focused on what I need to do. Not I don't really sort of network very widely. Um, but but I mean, my partner in crime is from Virginia Tech, and also our best sales guy, he's also an alumni of Virginia Tech, and we've been working together for many years. So yeah.
So you made a bunch of pivots in your life in your early years when you wanted to start your business in your basement to like pivoting your company from a service sector into a product sector. How did you come up with like a way to see forward? Like, how did you make those predictions as okay, Lan, this is a good time for me to do this, and like convince yourself that I should get out of that comfortable state and push for it?
Right. It's kind of hard to explain. I think first of all, you're just not gonna know until you kind of get to that point. A lot of it's kind of intuition, but that intuition is based on past experience. Uh, I think one thing that Andy in particular is really good about is absorbing a lot of knowledge and really understand sort of where the future is going, like that trend, and sort of and make bets based on sort of what we think is going to be the future. So a lot of it is really kind of making bets on the future versus making bets on what's going on right now. Yeah, I think it's really a lot of just kind of you kind of going from point A to point B to point B to point C. Like you're just not gonna really know until you kind of get to point B. That what the point C is gonna be. Um, yeah. Oh yeah. So
People online can't hear.
yeah. So okay.
Did it-
Go ahead, say it again, sure.
Did COVID-19 affect your business? If so, how?
Yes, COVID-19 definitely affect our business majorly. So I mean, first of all, there was no business. You know, at least in the beginning. I mean, obviously later things are start going pretty well. But I think I think everybody just focusing on saving their own lives. That's also why we decided to make this pivot, because so what happened was we decided, you know what, we're just gonna get rid of our office. We had this like massive fancy office in San Francisco. We're just like, you know what, we're just gonna go full remote. So I actually moved back to Southern California during COVID. I was in San Francisco, but I decided to move back. And part of it is we need to stretch the dollar. We need to conserve all the cash that we can, because the future is just such a black box at the time. So that's when we decide, you know what, we're gonna anything that's too expensive, we're just gonna cut. We're just not gonna spend the money, and really just kind of, you know, put our head down and just kind of focus on sort of what we're doing at the moment. Yeah, and even after even when the Nasdaq start going back up, we're just, you know what, we're done. We're done kind of following the trend. We're just gonna keep doing what we're doing. And I think that, you know, that really paid dividend for us later.
We have another question online from Harana. If you can unmute and ask your question, please.
Yeah, like what was the most like useful skill you learned like at tech that you still use in your job?
I apologize. Do you mind repeating your question?
Yeah, like what was the most useful skill you learned like at tech that you still use?
Okay. I learned many skills. Being a founder, you kind of have to be jack of all trades. But I mean, I was sort of, as advice, I think for everybody here, I do think that deep skill is really, really important. You know, if you look at AI, I mean, whatever it's like sort of easy to automate away, those are probably going to get replaced. But it's really the deep skill. We're talking about like deep engineering skills, for example, that I don't think it's going to replaced by anybody else anytime soon. So but you guys are in good, you know, you guys are here in tech, so I mean, you got that covered. But I do think, like, you know, as far as general skill set, I think one thing, and I'm going to be kind of very vague. I think understanding who you are, like understanding what you're good at, understanding how you communicate, like what's the most effective way for you to communicate with others, like what's the most effective way for you personally to work with other people. That sort of collaboration aspect of skill, I think that's super important. You know, like other skill is one thing, but I mean, in the workforce, you can't avoid working with other people, and we all sort of approach that in different ways. So it's like, in order for you to do well working in a team, you really have to understand who you are really well, so that you can sort of take advantage of what the most effective way for you to collaborate and apply that. So I think that's really important.
Well, when you were talking about the first 10 employees you hired,
Yeah.
one of the things I was thinking about was that you studied as an engineer. You weren't taught the skills on how do I pick the right people, and you know, I'm sure you made some mistakes on the line. You go, oh, we never should have hired this person. So how did you and Andy decide when you were, you know, when you were adding those first people to your team? How did you figure out what you really needed at that time?
A lot of it's luck. If you want to talk about the initial phase, because when you're, you know, when you're just starting out, I mean, you don't have any choices. You don't really have a process. It's not like you can screen them and do all these things that big company does. What you do is you look for the people that's around you. I do think that the people you hire generally are the people who are similar to you, I guess. So, you know, if you're kind of an asshole, then likely you're gonna be you will be surrounded by a bunch of sharks, right? If you treat other people well, you will surround yourself with good, really good people. So I think part of it is just who I am, who Andy is. We attract people who are very similar to us, and we were just very lucky. But another part, and this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs would agree, which is if you realize somebody's not working out, which will happen a lot, you gotta like help them, you know, find some other opportunities. They can't really, because that's one thing that I realized many times. Like you hire somebody, you know it's not working out, but you're like, you know what, let's give them another chance. It never works out. So what we do is we have like this 30, 60, and 90-day check-in where, you know, for every employee, we will actually, for every new employee, every 30 days, 60 to 90 days, we actually talk about, okay, is this somebody that we want to keep on the team? And if there's any doubt, then we pay them to leave. Yeah.
Okay, well, so we have two more online, so we can take two questions. So if Roshan, if you can please unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, I'm just a little curious. What is some of your best like sales or marketing techniques to like kind of get like differentiate yourself from the market? Because I know there's a lot of like tech startups and tech companies coming out, but what's your best advice to like kind of differentiate from them?
So first of all, I am not a sales and marketing expert, so take whatever I say with a grain of salt. First of all, I think there's all, you know, in any market, you're gonna have some major players, but not anybody is gonna be able to address everybody's needs. There's always gonna be a segment here, a type of use case here that other people is not gonna be able to address. And those are the opportunities that you want to pursue. And there's always, you just have to be very, very smart about it. I think for us, you know, we definitely service, you know, we're also very focused because we don't just, our software is not for everybody, right? We, like I said earlier, we really focus on the small and medium sized project. And just so happened, those are the segment that a lot of competitors, they just don't do well at. But our product, so one, I mean, you know, for us, I think one sort of sales and marketing leverage is kind of what I talk about with the product itself. It's just it's something that certain segment of the customer base really gravitates towards what we're doing. We also have a lot of success, kind of like using third-party application review sites, kind of like Yelp for apps. I remember this, like G2 Crowd, Capterra. Believe it or not, a lot of people, when they go find software online, they go to these review sites. So we make sure we have a lot of reviews, you know, like 4.8 out of 5 stars, that type of thing. That actually drove a lot of traffic. And we also have like really quirky marketing, like fun, quirky, you know, just, yeah, our head of marketing at the time, he's kind of coming from this journalism background, and he's just very creative with his writing. And I think that also sort of create this really sort of like fun, laid back image that some of our customers just gravitates to.
Okay, so our last question from online, Adi Navdev, if you can please unmute. Adi Navdev, we can't hear you. If you can ask the question one more time.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you for the talk. So if I have a problem, well, a solution to a problem right now that I think maybe AI or large language models will be able to solve in maybe 2 years, what do you advise on actually trying to implement that solution right now? Is it worth it? Or if I think maybe in 2 years, I'll be outdone by some machine learning model?
I mean, do you think that's something that you can do on your own?
It's more of like yes, I do, but I don't know how well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would just do it and see what happens. Yeah, I mean, at least for me, you know, I think take on something that I think is reasonable for me to actually be able to do on my own, and then just kind of push it out there and see what happens. I don't know. Yeah.
Other questions? Did you have a question? No. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think question. Okay. Yeah, I was actually going to ask if so on those last 2 slides when you outlined your framework and some of the key takeaways that you've learned, that's probably in retrospect, right? Over the years, you've learned from experience, and that's which was kind of the thing that I was trying to highlight, as the fact that you weathered a lot of storms. And I was about to ask how you actually went about the very first downturns, the 2001, you know, around about that time, and then again in the late 2000s. And you kind of, I think between the very nice questions that the audience asked, I think you kind of covered that implicitly. But yeah, I was actually very impressed with those last couple of slides when you outlined the framework. And so again, rare insight into how to deal with adversity and still keep pushing ahead. And so, right, any other comments, final thoughts, questions, anything else? Okay, if not, let's thank Sheng one more time. Thank you so much, Sheng.
Thank you so much. Thank you.